every comedian who got up just mercilessly picked on me because I stand out. I'm 6'5" and I'm American, and they kept asking me like, well, what are you doing here, and this and that. And
ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from somewhere in New Zealand, it's the Dave Benson Show with your host, Dave Benson.
Oh, too kind. What a week. It's Monday, the best day of the week, everyone. Thank you for watching, listening, or coaxing your laptop to play this. Now, there's a big question that's on everyone's lips right now. Everyone's thinking about it, I can tell. Carl said it, but was everyone, and I mean everyone, kung fu fighting? I think that's a question for the ages. What do you think, Tom? They were fast as lightning. All right, let's kick into the monologue.
It's the monologue.
A security camera in California captured a cat deliberately dropping a live mouse into a family's cooking pot. Forget cooking shows, this was Tom and Jerry's Iron Chef edition. Again in California, a truck spilled blueberries across Highway 99, creating a very sticky traffic jam. It was the only time you could text your boss and say, I'm stuck in a jam, and actually mean it, Tom. These dad jokes are horrendous. Amazon Web Services had a major outage this week which caused, wait for it, smart beds to overheat, and they got stuck upright. People went to sleep like Cleopatra and woke up like Dracula. Now imagine having to call tech support because your bed is now a recliner. A wild bear wandered into Sequoia Park Zoo, socialised with the resident bears, and then walked out through the service gate. That's the modern day version of crashing a party, high-fiving everyone, and leaving with a charcuterie board. In Santa Cruz, a surfboard-stealing otter resumed biting surfers and commandeering boards. Locals say the otter is just living its pirate fantasy. Somewhere out there, there's a tiny eye patch and a parrot audition tape. 2 escaped horses in Winnipeg went on a spirited stroll, visited a high school, and then left. It's hard to enforce a dress code when your new classmates are naked and on all fours. A Seattle thrift store shopper bought $3 jeans and found a lottery ticket worth, wait for it, $2.4 million in the pocket. The original owner is suing to get it back, proving that distressed denim can distress you financially. And in Phoenix, Robert Johnson tried to renew his driver's license and discovered the government database had listed him as dead for 7 years. It's a zombie film where the biggest fight isn't brains, it's bureaucracy. What a world when animals are unionizing, beds are revolting, and the DMV thinks you're dead. Let's have a look at the YouTube news. So, in the creator universe, One Direction's Louis Tomlinson said he will forever despise Logan Paul because of Paul's impulsive interview with Liam Payne. Tomlinson called Paul a horrible little and laminated how influencers think they're journalists. Somewhere a PR manager is typing, "We're all friends," through tears. YouTube has unveiled an AI likeness detection tool to fight deepfakes. Creators verify their identity with a photo ID and selfie, then see a list of videos using their likeness and can request removal. Early access is rolling out now with verified creators getting it by January 2026. It's kind of like a bouncer for your face. Do you think we're out there, Tom? Yeah, I hate to imagine what they've put this on. Naz Daly's company 1000 Media promoted Akash Gupta to global head of operations. He previously oversaw productions in more than 50 countries and major projects like the Religion Challenge series. He's now in charge of streaming processes and empowering teams. Corporate speak for making sure no one's accidentally deepfake Naz. Brooke Schofield said she and Tana Mungio remain friends despite ending their cancelled podcast. They often butt heads and learn that running a business with friends is hard, but going separate ways has probably saved their friendship. It's not a feud, it's an audio-conscious uncoupling. Let's have a look at the podcast news. Alright, meanwhile in the audio-only world, Good Tape magazine unveiled the cover of its 3rd issue, The Threat Issue, starring comedian and multiple threat Nicole Byer. Honestly, calling it the threat issue is bold. Most magazines barely survive the subscription issue. Nicole's on the cover like, yeah, I am the threat. James Corden's new interview series, This Life of Mine, got a global release, finally. Lemonade Media dropped the first 2 episodes, with more coming weekly. Over 40 chats. He's going to sit down with people like David Beckham, Kim Kardashian, Dr. Dre, Martin Scorsese, which is really impressive, though somewhere I bet there's a cab driver in London still mad he's not on the guest list. In Australia, Jetpack Media has launched a creator representation and publishing house. Finally, a jetpack that doesn't run out after 20 minutes. Creators are strapping in, though turbulence may still apply. Audiogram dropped a free AI promo tool that reads your show, writes a whimsical script, and spits out a video. So now even your marketing is gaslighting you with fake enthusiasm. This episode changed my life, says a robot that doesn't actually have one. Independent studio WonkaBot announced an adult animated series called The Swines, plus a podcast spin-off. Get ready for pigs that not only hog your attention, but also your Wi-Fi bandwidth. It's basically Animal Farm meets South Park. Again in Australia, a crime podcast got pulled after a single episode. Why, you may ask? It allegedly mixed an improper payment, a convicted criminal, gambling ads, and even an ABC reporter. That's not an episode, that's a Netflix pitch. When your show becomes Exhibit A, maybe stop recording. The IAB is shaking up its events. Instead of having a podcast up front, a gaming up front, and an influencer up front, they're merging them into one giant creator font in 2026, which means next year we'll have TikTokers explaining CPMs to podcasters while someone does a Fortnite dance in the corner. And finally, in Saudi Arabia, regulators suspended the Mariah podcast after the host and actress shared a couch with separate blankets. Apparently it was inconsistent with public taste. Podcasters now really do need a government license called a Morthawk. Next up, permits for throw pillows and scented candles. Let's have a look at the movie review.
It's the 60-second movie review.
It's your 60-second movie review because you're too busy or too emotionally unavailable to watch trailers like normal people. Off-School Property, Solving the Separation of Church and State, a 90-minute documentary examining the Bible's removal from US schools. This hits limited theatres on October 23rd. Expect lots of interviews, a little controversy, and maybe some test prep skills. Would I watch it? Sure. I need some ideas for my next PTA meeting. Begonia, Yorgos Lanthimos remakes Save the Green Planet with Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons. Two conspiracy-obsessed cousins kidnap a CEO because they think she's an alien. It opens in limited release on October 24th. The visuals are quirky, the humour is dark, and the odds of you shaving your head in solidarity are high. I did. Regretting You, Josh Boone adapts Colleen Hoover's novel about mother-daughter strife, starring Alison Williams and McKenna Grace. The 110-minute film opens wide on October 24th. It's emotional, it's healing, and it proves sometimes therapy sessions come with popcorn. All right, that's it. That's your 60-second review. Like, follow, send it to your movie group, chat, or pretend you saw all 3 movies and quote me at parties. All right, this week we made a video short with high hopes of it going viral. We followed all of the rules we were told. We made a fool of myself. We covered me in whipped cream. We put it with a catchy song. And we didn't succeed at all. So far, the video is just under 1,000 views, which is pretty woeful in terms of a short and what we expected. So far, our best short is ranking up there around 6,000 views. So the idea is we want to beat that, but we also want to go viral. What we're going to do is we're going to keep doing this every week until we get something that finally goes viral. So please, if you've got any ideas, if you've got anything to send through, here is the link at the bottom that you can click on, or you can just send it to the email address right here, and you'll be able to send us your ideas, and we'll be able to try them out on the show. But for those who missed it, and apparently most of the world did actually miss this video, have a look right now. What do you do when you can't grow any hair, but you still want that hair flare? Whipped cream!
I got a beat that's hotter than the sun. Watch me spin, yeah, the party's begun. Shake it up, break it up, oh, it's fun, we're gonna run, run, run till the night's all done. Oh no! Don't stop the groove, feel the rhythm, let it move. Hands up, we're on the loose. Ooh, hey! Whip it up, hair in the air. Hey, hey, yeah. Spin it, flip it up, don't even care.
Right, so there you have it. Multiple stories, 0 American politics, 1 cat with culinary aspirations, 1 bed that thinks it's a recliner, and 1 man who had to argue with the DMV about being alive. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and send this monologue to your weirdest chat group. Up next, we have an amazing actor, and I promise he does not steal surfboards. Tom, let the titles roll!
I said I wanna see the Dave Benson show, and I can't stop and never gonna let it go. I said I wanna see the Dave
He's an actor, producer, newly minted dad who went from coding and chronic pain to transforming himself into a virologist, a mercenary, and even a bodybuilder ex-con. He collects foreign coins, plays the piano and the Irish flute, sails and scuba dives for fun, and he once convinced an entire soap opera set he was Australian. You might know him as the assassin Lewis Powell in Killing Lincoln, the whistleblower in this year's corporate thriller Protocol 7, or the former NFL star finding love in Fox Nathan's holiday film Christmas at the Greenbrier. He's currently producing his own feature Gym Rat, building muscles and balancing fatherhood. Please welcome to the show, Josh Murray. Josh.
Hey, what's up, Dave? Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. Now,
I heard that you like to surprise audiences, and I got to say the coins bit in your intro already got me. So good on you.
Thank you. Now, Josh, it's Thursday there in the States. What part of the States are we zooming into here?
I'm in a parking lot getting the Tesla charged in Los Angeles right now.
What's the usual Thursday night for Josh? What do you usually do?
You know, it depends on how many auditions I got. Last night it was just auditions till I dropped, but I do like to sign off a couple hours early normally and do some wind down activities, spend time with putting my baby to bed and seeing my wife and doing some reading, doing some myofascial work. I'm really into that right now, is myofascial work. So I'm like getting on the medicine ball and the lacrosse ball and working all the knots I put into my muscles in the gym.
Let's talk about the fatherhood, man. How old's the baby?
He's 1.5. Yeah, Ethan.
Oh man, I love
he's amazing. Kids. He's amazing. He's amazing. He's an amazing kid. Ever since we brought him from the hospital, he was just alert and smiling and looking at us in the eye, and I just felt like he just had so much personality since straight from the hospital. And he's 1.5 now, simulating talking a little bit, and he's climbing all over the furniture, and he's jumping off of things and running around. So it's fun to start, chasing around, being more active, stuff like that. I can't wait till he can talk and we can start to communicate more. But I already feel like I know his personality and I've got such a relationship with him already. And he's a big dad's dad. Like every time I'm around, he just wants me to pick him up and carry him around and chase him and stuff. So it's beautiful.
How scared were you the first time you picked him up? How scared were you the first time you put the car seat in the car with him in it?
I didn't feel uncomfortable like holding him, but I will say that I've never been so paranoid driving than I was coming home from the hospital. I felt like there was danger at every turn. It was really weird. Yeah.
On the way to the hospital, you were just one hand on the wheel. You were looking around, non-caring. Yeah. You're like, yeah, it's a Wednesday.
Autopilot.
On the way back.
Autopilot.
Yeah. So
Pins
Josh,
and needles. Yeah.
Did you always want to be an actor? How did this all come about? Was there another path?
I grew up reading my dad's scripts because he was writing spec screenplays since before I was born. So I did have an appreciation for the film industry. I had an appreciation for old movies. He was kind of a cinephile. We watched movies like The Searchers with John Wayne, John Ford's films. We watched Kurosawa, as a 10, 12-year-old. So I had an appreciation for movies and I used to imagine movies and stuff, but I never really thought it was possible. It never really occurred to me that it was a career path. So I started off doing more technical things. And, during college, I was dealing with both emotional and physical health issues that were really impacting my life in a lot of ways. And I was looking for a new outlet. A lot of things like working out and playing sports were not really on the table for me at the time. And I was looking for something to do. And I was also like searching for something to explore life and myself with. And I just suddenly had this really strong urge to explore acting. And I literally, first thing I did was I went to an audition and I booked this little short film in my neck of the woods, the mid-Atlantic at the time. And, that just kind of triggered this fascination with like, I have to figure out this acting thing. And, one thing led to another. And before I knew it, I was just spending every spare minute and vacation day, going to classes and doing auditions. And after a few years, I was like, I need to really take this seriously. And I started, pursuing it as a profession.
Then what
And,
drew you to the role of the whistleblower?
Protocol 7. Yeah. Protocol 7. So I have had, because of my health issues, very early on in life, I really, after going to doctors and trying different approaches and hitting walls, I really got serious with understanding like health from a holistic standpoint. And so throughout my 20s, I spent a lot of time, experimenting with stuff, researching stuff, and really becoming knowledgeable on it and going outside of like the mainstream doctrine on things. And so coming into 2020 and what's happened in recent years, I already had a lot of awareness and personal experience with the medical field, and medical freedom was really important to me, and people's right to choose about what risks they want to take for their own body, and also some of the propaganda that we get fed by commercialism about like this is what is true or this is what is not true. A guy that I worked with, Greg Orvis on Gym Rat, had connected with those guys making Protocol 7, and he turned them on to me. He said, "You got to meet this Josh Murray guy." They connected with me and said, "We want to have you audition." I think they originally called me in for a different part, but it ended up being the whistleblower is what we agreed to kind of, I was interested in and what they were interested in seeing me for. And I really appreciated their bravery, in tackling a really controversial subject and telling the story of this guy who, went against the system and was willing to give up his career to challenge, the cover up. And I got to sit down with the whistleblower in real life and hear a bit of his story, the stuff that doesn't make it into the movie. And I can tell you the stuff that happens in real life, it really far outshines the controversy, and the craziness that's in the movie. I think the movie is actually pretty tame in comparison to everything that happened, but you can only put so much into a movie.
Wow. Has he ever told his story?
He's just starting to. They were literally up until the film was released, they were embroiled in this legal case that was going on for some 15 years, I think. And it's just recently concluded. And now he's finally able to start to share a bit of his story. So I think he is, starting to share a little bit of what he went through, but he had to just basically on a gag order until the court case, the trial, the lawsuit, was concluded. So, I hope that more of his story, is able to be seen, but I'm glad that I was able to tell at least some of the story and at least get some people talking and some people also feel seen. I went to about a dozen screenings all over the country, Dave, and almost didn't go to a screening where I didn't have a mother of a child who was injured by one of these injections come up to me in tears in her eyes and saying, "Thank you for telling my story." And I don't care, what scientist this or thing that, people want to bring up. Like when you look people in the eyes who spent their, years of their life dealing with the damage to their child, and lived through that. You can't just dismiss that. You know what I mean? And I'm proud to have been able to be a part of telling some of their story and making them feel seen, and if it helps one person to be more informed and to think for themselves, because ultimately as an actor, I'm just here to tell stories and get people to get closer to the truth, not to try to impose my views on them. And so I'm glad that I was able to do that and honored to get to, be a part of those people's stories. And the most meaningful thing to me was hearing some of the people who lived through those nightmares, like my character did in the movie with his baby, have come face to face with that scare, is the best reward and way more important than like a film critic saying it was a good movie or not.
I think we need to get him on the show. I'll tell his story. Tell him to contact me.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about Gym Rat. How did that come about?
Yeah. So I mentioned to you that I was into fitness when I was younger. I had this long period of time, about 10 years, where I was dealing with chronic pain and fatigue to the point where I had to give up working out altogether. It was just wreck me. There was one point in my early 20s where I will always remember, like, I was working a desk job and I looked at my hands and they were hurting so bad. I was like, I cannot will myself to keep typing, and I need to find a way, to fix this. And that's what led to this fascination and sort of commitment to health and wellness. And was eventually, over a 10-year process, able to get back to working out. So fast forward another, 10 years, of being an actor and doing films and getting healthier. I wanted to produce a movie. In fact, I have some other scripts that I worked on with my dad. I've been reading his scripts my whole life, and I've worked on writing some scripts with him. So one day I wanted to turn one of those scripts into a movie, and I talked to a mentor about, I want to learn how to produce a feature film. And his challenge was to do something that was very low budget that I could do in a short amount of time or get a jump start on without waiting for some studio to give me permission. And so I approached a friend of mine who's a director and a writer. And I said, do you have anything that we could do ultra low budget that you could direct? And I could act and I could work on producing. We could do it together and we could make it. And the first thing he had off the top of his head was like, well, I do have this idea for a film about this guy who's so obsessed with working out. He literally breaks into gyms to get a workout. And, he's a little delusional. He thinks that he could become Mr. Olympia, even though he's nowhere close to it. And, I said, and he's got, a prison background. And I said, that sounds good. Let's do it. And so literally just kind of on the spot, I was like, write the script and we'll make it. We'll start shooting next year. And, we did that. He wrote the script. We raised a little bit of money and we started shooting within 1 year, as I was challenged to do. And, that's when things got hard. It was 2019. We didn't get the production finished, and then COVID hit, and innumerable challenges ensued. And it ended up being almost about a 7-year process, man, to get it all the way finished through post-production, edited, delivered, and ready to start pitching, for distribution. And that is this year. I've finally finished it. We are out to festivals. We're in talks with distributors and, aiming to start, doing festival premieres later in this year and then release early next year. But
wow,
one of the
hardest
marathons of my life, man.
But the thing is, I mean, you say that you agreed to do it within a year. You had to put on something like 20 pounds of muscle for that role, right? You had to, what was that like?
Yeah, so at that point, I had already gotten back to working out. So I was, was significantly more fit and healthy than I had in previous years at that point. But I'd never really pursued bodybuilding. I'd never really, seriously tried to bulk up. And with this role, thankfully, I didn't need to take a bunch of steroids because the character is not going to win Mr. Olympia. The kind of the point of the film is that he doesn't really see himself clearly. But it still had to look like he was trying. Like it had to look like he was making an effort. So the director wanted me, to get as bulked up as I could. So I went from, going to the gym and lifting some weights to 5 days a week for multiple hours a day, just pushing myself till I felt like I couldn't push anymore. At the time, my buddy, Ian Lauer was a roommate of mine. And so he did some training with me and he would literally make me do, lateral raises until I couldn't hold my arms up. And that's like the level of sort of, what do they call it? Sadomasochism that, was required to get into character. But, I think around the peak, I was about 40 pounds heavier than I was when I was dealing with my health issues. Probably a little bit bigger, maybe 45 pounds was like the peak of from when I was really atrophied with my health issue to the biggest I got in that period of time. And then I leaned out a little bit for the movie, but, it was pretty significant. And, without taking a bunch of, steroids, which the guy in the character is doing in the movie, that was about the most that I could do. But honestly, it was really more about the character prep. It was really more about the psychology than it was about the aesthetics. And having that mindset of just pushing yourself so hard and just having this relationship to pain where it's the physical pain is like the goal almost, really raising the noise of the physical pain to sort of outshine the psychological pain the character's going through is really the character. That's the prep. And so, I got to spend time at, Venice Gold's Gym, seeing people like Arnold, and guys today, like Mr. Olympia competitors today hanging around, and the atmosphere, the culture. I mean, it's just really fascinating to just dive into this whole subculture and just absorb it and just see how you can project it on screen. And I really wanted to do something meaty like that with this role, and I really got to do that. And it was fun, and it was a great challenge, and I'm really looking forward to hearing how the community especially finds the film. Thankfully, I've had a couple of good compliments from some bodybuilders, including Lou Ferrigno, who said they loved the movie.
Oh, well, wow. That's a huge compliment from Lou. Jeepers.
Yeah. Yep. I treasure it. Yeah. It's one of the OGs.
How did it affect your soccer playing, putting that much bulk on? You must have been as fast if you were that much bigger.
Say that last bit again.
How did it affect your soccer playing? Because you're a lifelong soccer player, right? So
I was not competing in soccer in recent years. Although I did jump in on a pickup game for an audition once, not too long ago, and I was okay. I will tell you for the most part, I'm not nearly ever muscle bound enough that like it was hard to be athletic. But I will tell you that after leg day, the next day I was not going to be playing soccer. I could barely walk up the stairs.
Oh, and what then? You're training as a quarterback for Christmas at the Greenbrier. I mean, that's a total different training platform.
Totally different. I only had like one sequence of actually playing football in the movie. And so I didn't have to be amazing, but I did have to look like I could throw a football. And to be honest, I never played football. I never played any kind of football. Growing up, it was all about, European football. So I definitely started going to overdrive with just practicing throwing the ball around. And I got them to set up those targets on the football field where we were shooting. And I would just go out every day and just throw the ball. Cause I'm like, I just need to not look like a total putz when I'm playing a professional quarterback. And, it's not my sport, but I did get good enough where I could actually hit the target 3 times in a row from, 20 yards away or 15 yards away, maybe. And, that was enough, for the sequences we had to shoot. But it was funny because I would just go out, and we were shooting at the Greenbrier Resort. So this is an active resort. It's a 5-star resort. There's a lot of people there. And I was out throwing the ball one day, and these people started shouting at me like from across the field in this veranda in front of the hotel. And they were calling something out, like some name to me. And I was like kind of ignoring because I don't know what they're talking about, but they kept trying to get my attention. And finally, this one guy, there was this big divider in between us. So this one guy, he's like way off in the distance, and I see him get up and he starts walking down this long veranda to get to the other edge where like the other side of this pit or this pond. And he comes up to the field, and he's like coming up the field. And I'm like, okay, I guess he knows we're doing the movie. He wants an autograph or a picture or something. And he comes up and he goes like, I don't even know what the name is, but he was like, "Are you Caleb Williams?" And I'm like, "What?" He's like, Are you Caleb Williams? And I was like, no. And he's like, oh, okay. We thought you were the new QB for West Virginia U. And apparently they had just brought on a new quarterback for the team, and they thought that I was there in West Virginia as the new quarterback. So I was like, no, but I really appreciate the compliment that you thought I was actually a quarterback.
That's awesome. Oh, and also, so on General Hospital, you stayed in character, and everyone thought you were Australian because you put the Australian accent on all day long.
Yeah, and the goal wasn't to try to trick anybody, but when I'm doing a role that requires something that's a big stretch, like an Australian accent, I can't just whip it out at, the snap of my finger and have it be authentic. The only way that I can come close to believing it and helping other people to believe it is if I really live in it. So yeah, if I'm playing an Australian, I'm going to imagine that I'm Australian for the whole day. And, so that's what I do. And When people come up to me and they're like, well, what part of Australia you're from? I'll say, oh, I'm from Sydney, and so people would, just assume that I was, for real instead of in character. And so apparently, some of my friends, like, Marcos Papadopoulos, is to this day still gets people asking him, like, that Australian actor on General Hospital, you're friends with him, right? And he has to explain, no, he's only playing an Australian. He's not actually Australian. But I'll tell you, I had one slip up, and that was when I was hanging out with Cameron Matheson, who I have a lot of my scenes with. We were in his room, in his dressing room, and I was telling him a story about my real life that I was recalling. And because I was thinking about my own life, I just unconsciously switched into my American accent halfway through the story. And he like stopped me. He's like, wait a second. He's like, are you Australian or are you American? And I was like, I'm an American. Just playing a character.
Oh, well, yeah, Josh, I'm sorry, buddy, but I'm on this side of the world. You're going to have to show us your Australian accent.
What's that?
You're going to have to show us your Australian accent. We're coming from New Zealand. I'd love to hear this. Give us your best Australian one line.
I'll tell you quickly. Tell you a story I tell all the time because it was one of my funnest memories from visiting Australia. I did a road trip from Melbourne all the way up to Gympie and back, which was like 2 weeks of driving. And we were out in the sticks, or in Bogan country, as they like to say in Australia. And we stopped at this little cafe. And when I went in to order, I was getting like shish kebabs or something like that. Excuse me. And I tend to eat kind of paleo. And I was just not wanting any carbs, So when I went to order, I said, I'll take the kebabs and the kebabs and veggies with no rice. And so this waitress at the counter, she goes, okay, kebabs in veg, no rice. And I said, yeah. And then anything else? And I said, I'll get some of this and that dish, whatever. And she goes, okay, dish number 4, no rice. And I said, yeah, and I'll get a drink, I'll get a fountain drink, 2 fountain drinks. She goes, okay, 2 fountain drinks, no rice. And I was like, okay, I can't imagine that the rice comes with the fountain drinks. That's really not making sense. And then I finally finished the order, and she rang it up, and I gave her, she's like, cash or credit? And I said, give her cash. And she goes, okay, cash, no rice. And I was like, oh, she's not saying rice. She's saying no worries. Her accent was so bad I could not distinguish between that and no rice. So.
That's awesome. Oh, Josh, we're going to do some fast fire questions. Are you up for them, my friend?
Okay. Hopefully my reception holds out here.
All right. Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Ooh, first movie you ever auditioned for?
It was called Mr. Pratt. It was a short film. I didn't get the lead, but I got a part.
Nice. The role you're most proud of so far?
I kind of want to say Gym Rat because Lonnie, it was such a part of my life the past 7 years. But there was a little short film called Super where I play a homeless guy who strikes up a relationship with a young girl that I've had more mail from around the world about people who really touched their heart. And so that's what I'll say I'm most proud of.
Nice. The hardest line you've ever had to deliver?
Gosh, probably, I don't even think I could remember it, but probably something on Protocol 7, like talking a bunch of gibberish about scientific things.
Love it. Oh, who do you want to work with in the future? Who's your dream co-star?
If I could work with anyone alive, it would be Daniel Day-Lewis.
What's your favorite movie?
Treasure Island with Charlton Heston and Christian Bale.
That's a classic. I don't think anyone's ever said that before. I do love that movie. The last show you binge watched?
Something I've binge watched?
The last show you binge watched?
Oh, last show I binge watched. 1883. 1893?
Ooh.
No, sorry. Yeah.
I know the one.
1893, yeah.
Yes. If Hollywood made you take a year off, what would you do?
If I could take a year off, I would get a sailboat and I would go to the Caribbean and do island hopping, just live on a boat.
Man, that'd be fun, especially with a little baby as well. You would
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Final question. Who would play you in the movie about your life?
Gosh, you know, I have to, I got to tell you a funny story that I went to Ireland once really quick. And, I went to Ireland once in Dublin. And the first thing I did was I checked into a pub that was having a stand-up night. And there was a great comedian over in the UK, who was there. And I sat in the back and every comedian who got up just mercilessly picked on me because I stand out. I'm 6'5" and I'm American. And they kept asking me like, well, you know, what are you doing here? And this and that. And the comedian, he said, well, what do you do? And, you know, I've done some IT work and I didn't really want to give them the actor thing because it'd give them a bunch of, you know, stuff to pick on and like really start honing in on me. So I said, I do IT. And he goes, you do IT? He's like, right. You look like the guy they would get to play you in a movie about your life. So I'll say me. I'll play me. But to answer your question, I probably Christian Bale because he can do anything.
Yeah, that's true. He can do anything. Josh, what do you got coming up? What are we going to look out for? So Gym Rat's hitting the circuits, you said now. So that's going to be coming out soon.
Yeah, we're official selection at Richmond International Festival next month with a virtual slot, and then we're waiting to hear back on the other festivals, but hopefully some other festivals this fall, and then early next year is our plan to get it out on streaming. I also just did 3 films in recent months. So Vicarian with Doug Jones is a supernatural thriller. You can find us on social media on all these films. Remembering is a prodigal son inspired story about a guy who wakes up with amnesia in a strange house, and I play the antagonist in that. And then I just finished a really amazing film, kind of Coen Brothers-esque, called Turnbuckle, and got to work with an incredible cast, including Kate Beckinsale, Terrence Howard, Famke Janssen, Emil Hirsch, and James Franco. Really, really, really looking forward to that one. So you can find all those films, including Turnbuckle movie, on social media.
Josh, the important question, where would you like your details for people to find them about you? Do you want them up, down, left, right, whereabouts?
How about here? How about here?
Right here? All right.
Just
right
below
here.
us. Right here. Right here.
All right.
There, you can just put it between my fingers.
Oh.
Instagram, Facebook, all the way. In Gym Rat Movie on Instagram.
Done. It will be there. I promise you.
Amazing.
Josh, absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be back, guys, right after these messages.
Oh, the devil lives below, and he tells me where to go. I said I want to see the Dave Benson Show, and I can't stop and never gonna let it go. I said I want to see the Dave Benson Show, and I can't stop and never gonna let it go. I said I want to see the Dave Benson Show, and I can't stop and never gonna let it go. I said I want to see the Dave Benson Show, and I can't stop and never gonna let it go. I said I want to see the Dave.
All right, you better hit subscribe now, or I'm going to turn this show into a live reading of my grocery list. Now, don't test me on this. Couscous is on there twice.